Starting off with Dr. Hossein Ashktorab from Valley Water. He's been a unit manager of recycled and purified water for more than 20 years at Valley Water. He's currently chair of the Water Reuse International Advisory Group and has been responsible for all of Valley Water's recycling program and has played a key role in the implementation of the Silicon Valley Advanced Purified Water Center and is now expanding into Palo Alto and really has been a go-to person as far as water reuse in Silicon Valley. Before that, Dr. Ashktorab worked at the Cal Department of Water Resources and has taught and did research at UC Davis and Shiraz University, and which always makes me smile when I say Shiraz. I think of nice wine, and has published a scientific book and technical papers on water management. Duncan has been the general manager of the Soquel Creek Water District since 2015 and is a registered professional geologist, which is a very good thing for Soquel Creek, considering where they are and what goes on underneath the ground. Ron has received recognition of the Certified Special District Manager in 2018 for the Special District Leadership Foundation. And over the last 5 years, he's led Soquel Creek Water District's effort in developing PUREWater Soquel and to both address the overdrafting of conditions of the groundwater basin in mid-county Santa Cruz, since it is mostly almost all groundwater driven. And also to halt the seawater intrusion from moving further inland and contaminating the region's groundwater supply. So, and then lastly, when not working, Ron is often found, and this again is like Shiraz, Ron is often found surfing at Pleasure Point, doing yoga with his wife, or riding his bike. Last but not least, further south, is Mike McCullough, the Director of External Affairs for Monterey OneWater. The thing with Mike is he's been, for the last 8 years, he's been involved with a lot of external affairs in Monterey with the Pure Monterey Groundwater Replenishment Project, which came online in February, I believe, was part one. And in an area where there's little agreement, everyone seems to agree that Mike and his counterparts at Pure Monterey Groundwater Replenishment Project is doing a great job. And so with that, I'm not sure who was up first in this, but whoever is, please grab the screen.
Okay, so actually, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Dennis, for inviting me for this, workshop or very good presentation so far. I've heard several people. Exciting to see a lot of experience and knowledge of people to come and talk about fires and water, wastewater, and everything else. I just want to tell you, you grab some of us. We are competing each other. So one of the people that I'm competing with is Monterey Pure Water. So I know Mike for a long time. That we were trying to be the first one doing the purified water in the Northern California, but he beat me. So, but actually I'm going to beat him on other things. It's a much larger and bigger. And maybe beat him on the first direct water reuse. But we are friends. We're working together. We really appreciate that all collaboration happening at our site. We are sharing, the same issue that we have. We are really working together on the perception, customer and our customer perception about using wastewater and purify it and use it for drinking water. So that's a big challenge. I've been in Southern California, I've been doing it for a long time, but Northern California is very new. So, Santa Clara Valley Water, we are responsible for 2 million people in Silicon Valley. We have the 13 cities and the retailers that we are working with. Drought is what we know. They have been talking about fire and talk about the water shortage and all those things. We know that drought is not something that's going to be for the history. It's coming and maybe continue more because everything that we have seen, unfortunately, because of climate change, is going to be more intense. Groundwater is very, very important to us because our major reservoir is our groundwater. And we see the blue line is like your, heartbeat. It's going down, is it where the water level was going down, and then we build different projects, bring the the water from north, and we start recharging groundwater, so it went up again. But this is it's going to be one of the major concern that we have. Hopefully, we are not going to be losing the water again and then causing some subsidence. So risk again is going to be there all the time. Severe drought, climate changes, reduced imported water, and of course the population. I mean, the population, sometimes you hear, oh, the people are living from this city or that city. But here, the places after 2, 3 years, we find out that the population is not only decreasing, it's increasing. Another thing is, what are we doing with it? We really, number one, we put a lot of effort on water conservation. We think that this is the best effort that could be done to use our water more and more and save it as much as we can internally. So before we go after another sources of water, and then portable and non-portable reuse, of course, that would be the second one. Stem water is another one that we're looking into, and these are as a last leaf forward, at least from this list, we look at it too. And there's several benefits that we're talking about, why we're using conservation first, or why we're the second one is portable reuse. It's all, I think, the people has been talking about it a lot because of course, it making sense to use what you already have locally. It's drought proof, local, and then it's reliable water that you use your own wastewater in the county, so make it non-potable and potable. So, the non-potable for irrigation and cooling tower, everything else has started from 1997 in our county. And our wastewater agencies, and our cities, they spend a lot of money on expanding recycled water, and also we're working together. And sometimes we share that cost for expansion of recycled water as value water, working with our partners. But we know we cannot continue with this non-portable because of, you can send a pipeline to one big park, but it doesn't make sense to send it to several small area for irrigation. So it's not cost effective. And since we know that there is another option, which is portable reuse, we look at portable reuse as the next option that would be much more cost effective and better because of the way it is portable reuse feature, because of you can use it all year round. It's not just one irrigation during just one season, you can use it. And you have much more control because will be part of your water supply. So that's why we are spending a lot of time and effort and money on the portable reuse. That's going to be our next big development on the and with that, we actually look at where we are today. We are here mostly, as you can see on the top, just using recycled water for irrigation, for ag, and for landscaping, plus cooling towers. And we're going to go to future. That's going to be for, going for groundwater recharge, or directly drinking it, like drinking water treatment plant, or directly going to people's house from what we call treated water augmentation. There is no regulation yet for the treated water augmentation, but regulation for groundwater is there already. As I said, Southern California doing it, but we're really working on making sure the public engagement is there, and we have our partner with us. Why we build the Silicon Valley Advanced Creation Center as 8 MGD plant? 8 MGD is sometimes it's a huge facility for some agency. For us, we use it as demonstration. We have tours and the people coming in and look at it. And of course, not now because of COVID, but we do the virtual tours. But when we had the actual tour, the people come, drink the water, and they change their mind. They come in with the yucky factor in their brain and say, I'm not going to touch this water. This is coming from the wastewater from the other side of the street. And I don't want to do anything with that. And then when they see the technology and what we do, how we operate the system, and how we're making sure everything is going to be very tight in terms of making sure that it's safe and healthy water, then they ask for, can I drink this water? So it's been very, very exciting for us in the last 8 years or 6 years that we actually start doing the tours, and we get more public supporting us. And also our agents, our friend agency, like Monterey PUREWater Soquel, they have been working with us and they have been touring this as well. And sometimes they send their customer also to us too. So it's good to see that we have a place for everybody to look at, and everybody to learn, and also working with universities as education. Body water goals is evaluate the feasibility of implementing the portal reuse. As I mentioned, portal reuse has been very, very important to us. We think that not only groundwater recharge, but also treated water augmentation would be the one that is very going to be one of the sources of water that's locally controlled, and it's going to be much more cost effective. So portal reuse, of course, you have the wastewater, and then you have purification facility. You purify that water after 3 different uh, treatment at the regional wastewater facility. We receive that water and then we purify it. Go through additional 3 different type of system to purify, plus a lot of bells and whistles after that to make sure the water is coming really 100% or 150% safe. Planning has been very important to us. We have been doing this for 10 years now, and we look into everything that's going with the purified water in terms of the energy, in terms of environment, in terms of the cost, in terms of public support. And so it's a regulation is another thing that we have been working with regulators. We kept our regulators from the beginning. We have been doing a lot of research and we have been piloting. We kept them in the loop and we showed them the data, and we have been sharing all this information to them, make sure that we have also satisfied our regulator from the first day. Here is some of the examples you see from the public perception. We're doing this public perception survey every year or 2 years. And as you can see, the support has been going up. And I'm saying that because I see the people coming, as I said, to Silicon Valley Advanced Education Center with no intention of even seeing the water, not only touching it, but they drinking it afterwards. But plus offer the other things that we're doing together with our partners and with our colleagues around the state. We really, all of us has been successful to change the people's mind from what we were before. 10 years ago, you could not talk about portal reuse. We were really thinking about how we're going to tell the public what we're going to do 10 years ago. We should be very careful to talk about it. But today, we're always talking about portal reuse. We're going to use it for drinking. So it's been very successful for all of us to work together and making sure this is happening. So some of the things happening right now at the our county in the region is not only we working with all the agencies surrounding us in Northern California and Southern California, but also we are looking into where are the water that wastewater available for us to use. So we have four different wastewater treatment plant in our county. One of them is, the big one is San Jose, Santa Clara. So we're using San Jose, Santa Clara. We have been working with them a long time ago. That's why we built the Silicon Valley Advanced Purification Center by collaborating together. So now we are working, we have worked with Palo Alto for last 3, 4 years. And just recently, about last year, we actually came up with the agreement, 76 years agreement with Palo Alto to use their wastewater, treated wastewater for future of our purification facility. So it's been very exciting. As you know, all the wastewater agency, they're thinking about their own also, benefit, what we're going to do with this water and how we're going to use it for their own cities or for the partners that they have. But with this collaboration that we have with the agreement of 76 years, it's been very exciting for us that we were able to get about 9 to 10 mgd of wastewater for our purification facility. So beside working with San Jose, as I mentioned, we built the Silicon Valley Advanced Purification Center. Right now, we are in a discussion with them to see how we're going to be also having another long-term agreement with them for a specific, number of MGDs of wastewater as well. So we are also working with Sunnyvale at the same time, another wastewater facility. In South County, we're working with Gilroy, Morgan Hill, and Score, and we are the wholesaler there. So we got all the water, we put our whole system after the fence, and then we expanded it there. So it's a different collaboration between different wastewater agencies. However, I think all of them are in our mind is the water supply uh, for local water supply, locally controlled water supply for the county, for the same customer we're talking about. It makes sense to expand advanced treatment. How, the name of this workshop is Advancing Advanced Treatment. Um, Again, that's a name that we can easily talk about it today. We couldn't talk about it that much 10 years ago uh, because, again, it's making sense to have that kind of advanced treatment for water supply. And also the cost is coming down. The cost for, RO system, which is the heart, using almost 60% of total energy of treatment plant is coming down. It's much more efficient, better, much more reliable now compared to 10, 15 years ago. So, and also in our county, we're gonna use for groundwater recharge, we're gonna do full fat, which is, we are going to do the RO purified water for recharging groundwater because we want to make sure that we are, as I said, we are protecting our groundwater and we're going to improve groundwater condition by using no salt, nothing into the water, going to the groundwater. So it's going to be improving the condition of groundwater and quality as well. And environment, because we're going to reuse something that we use it again. So I think one thing that I did not put in a slide here is talking about the using stormwater. Now, Dennis has been very interested on that. I wanted to mention that we have been working with the university, especially Stanford. We're looking into a stormwater and recycled water, how we can use the stormwater during the time that, stormwater suddenly come in. I'm talking about runoff, urban runoff. and then those runoff is going to be has a lot of the metals and all um, those those compound that they need to be treated somehow. You cannot use it that way. So we were thinking about how we can use it, maybe going through the our facilities, like purified facilities, if we can purify them and we can filter them and then use it with the recycled water, or how we can treat it and then put it into the recycled water system. So we are looking at that one as well. And we are at the beginning. We are not like at the stage that we are in the groundwater recharge. However, that's very important again our board to look at every drop of water that's going to be locally controlled and used. So we are also looking at that option to see how we can combine this urban stormwater with recycled water. So with that, I would like to stop right here and then give it back to Dennis.
Thank you, Hossein, very much. And okay, we'll take this, and I'm not sure who was up next. Was it Ron or Mike? So first one, first one to it, I guess.
Why don't you go next, Mike, since you were ahead of us in developing the purified water? I think it makes sense. We're going in that.
Let me see if I can share my screen here.
So I think
That's the same screen.
Okay, let me see. It's a stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Take it away, and we will mute.
Okay, so Monterey One Water. I think the story starts right here in the fact that we had to develop a supply that would help with this impending water cliff. A lot of the water supplied to the Monterey Peninsula is from the Carmel River and from the Seaside Groundwater Basin. And with some state orders and reduction of the amount of water being pulled off the Carmel River, there needed to be a supplement to some of that supply. And so that's kind of how PUREWater Monterey came into being. And some of the things that PUREWater Monterey does is that we're going to provide 3,500 acre feet of water as a replacement water supply that is replacing the water that's pulled off the Carmel River there with the little fish, because they have some sensitive habitat and ecosystems for some aquatic species. We also have the ability to bring in more source water for non-potable reuse, not only for PUREWater Monterey, but also for agriculture recycling. And then when you do pull in some of these other water sources, we have the potential to pull out 14 million pounds of dissolved solids from some of those compromised water sources that we've identified. And as Hossein talked about, a lot of this kind of takes a collaborative approach. We couldn't do this alone. And so just through this project or this slide alone, in order to make PUREWater Monterey a reality, we had to develop a water purchase agreement with the private utility, but also with one of our partner agencies, which was a water management district. We also had to partner up with another water district in the area, a county organization, the city of Salinas, city of Seaside, the Waste Management District, which is our next door neighbor, Reuse Authority, which is now defunct, and then a water resource agency in Monterey County. And so it really took a village, I guess, to get us to this point. But I just want to show you that it was a pretty complex collaborative effort. I think what makes our project a little bit unique, and it's kind of where Hossein was going, was that you're trying to use every drop of water for recycling if you can. So the bulk of the water will be secondary treated wastewater. What's coming into our plant as we are configured today. But we also identified other water sources, like up here in the upper left is the Blanco Drain. It's an agricultural drainage channel. So we were building a pump station for there so that we could pump that agricultural drainage water right to the headworks of our facility. We also identified this byproduct of the produce washing facilities that are prevalent in the city of Salinas. And so by using some of this water, reusing it, we have an ability to take that in now. And then the final piece was some urban stormwater runoff. Our agency has worked with one of our local entities for a while and taking urban dry weather flows, but now we have the ability by working with the city of Salinas to take some stormwater during wet events, storing it and then bringing it in for treatment. So, it's not a lot at this moment, but it's, we're starting down that path of reusing stormwater. And so then everybody likes to talk money with PUREWater Monterey, what it costs, things of that nature. We were pretty active in trying to find additional grant funds, and so we found money from a local entity. We've also had some luck in trying to secure some federal money through the Wind Grant Act, and then through the state, we were lucky to get a low interest loan. We also had some grant monies from Prop 1 water recycling and also from stormwater. So at the end of the day, it looks like we'll be paying back the state around $170 million for our 5 MGD facility that we have down here at Monterey. And so just real quick, some of the lessons learned, I think Hossein's kind of touched on a lot of this about regional collaboration. And it sounds really good, but man, it's really challenging to do. And I think you would agree with me as you try to make these agreements with other entities for long-term water supplies and things of that nature. As we've gone through construction and now we're into operation, it's a good to great team. It's critical in having success for your projects. And that's a shout out to Jim Collins, is that you just can't be satisfied with the status quo. You really got to keep pushing to get the best quality product you can. And then obviously when you do major construction projects of $100 million or so, it is really a high touch environment. And I mean that in a way that, the contractor is interacting with your project manager, your consultants and your staff. Not only you have to do that touching, but you also have to touch your member entities. You have to touch the regulators. You have to touch the state who's giving you the money. And so, those touch points never go away. And really, as Hossein pointed out, you always have to engage in those even more as you go through the process. I put the next one there is dance shoes required. I mean, as you go through these projects, always something is changing. For us, it was, change orders. But then we got thrown the curveball of pandemic as we're trying to go through startup. And that was a really interesting time, trying to work with the regulators to do virtual tours, things of that nature. We also got thrown a curveball through an act of nature and knocking down some of our facilities. And so, you just have to be flexible in how you proceed, but also just, when you keep having constant communication with these other entities and the regulators, they're all in it to help you be successful. So that was really helpful. And I think finally, we've always talked about climate change, but I think as you go into projects, and as Dennis talked about earlier, some of other stuff has always been controversial down here. The political climate change is really an interesting study in sociology. And with elections, things change. There's always local issues, whether it's the COVID, water supply, housing. There's always things that can galvanize the community. And I think drought is one of those for us. And then I just put there personal loss is that, during the time of planning, design and construction and now operation, there's people that go along the road or the journey with you. And sometimes, you have retirements. A lot of the people that were integral in starting and planning the process have passed away. And so you really kind of lose some of that institutional knowledge, and you always are kind of having to start over with a new group of people. So it really kind of helps keep your message fresh, that you do kind of grieve some of those people that have been here and then have left or have moved on. And so I think COVID has taught us that you can't stop and you got to keep moving forward. And so I think, as we've moved into operation now, we're just trying to really optimize the processes and just trying to put as much water in the ground as we can moving forward. So that's the update from the PUREWater Monterey process and where we are with advanced treatment. Again, our process is using some other water sources for beneficial uses on the urban supply, but also for the agricultural supply. So Dennis, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn this back to you.
Great. Thank you, Mike. And let's see, I think we're good for Ron to just pick that up. So
Fantastic. Let me.
actually, though, to all the listeners out there, we have been running late for our through the presentations. The next presentation, Nusha Ajani's presentation, will actually, Nusha had a conflict coming up, so she will, she's going to actually not do a presentation. We will, and that will be for another day, though. We're not letting her get away, but for today, she's going to, she has to go off into something else. So anyway, back to you, Ron.
Okay. Is my screen up? You see it good?
Yep.
Okay, great. So it's such a pleasure to be here today. Originally, my colleague, Melanie Mal-Schumacher, was going to present, and she wasn't able to do it. So she asked me, and I said, well, this has two of my favorite words in the title, sustainability and water, right? So I said, and I love this organization, and my two colleagues here who presented helped us so much. I said, this sounds great, but I didn't know what the word palooza really meant. I've seen it on music festivals and stuff. So I looked that up, and then here's what the definition is: an all-out crazy party, partying at one place with a ton of people like there's no tomorrow. So as soon as I saw that, I said, I'm all in. I'm your man to speak. So here we are. On a more serious note, Soquel Creek Water District really stands on the shoulders built upon Mike and Hossein, and they've been so helpful. And of course, Orange County and some of the people I see on the list today watching. Soquel Creek is located just over the hill from Silicon Valley. We're in Santa Cruz County, and this little map cartoon on the right shows it up here. So we're a medium-sized agency, and the key is we rely all on groundwater. Our problem, our challenge, our why is seawater intrusion. And here's a little cartoon graphic to show you what that looks like. So when the water in a well goes down and you're along the coast, you pull in seawater. And now this, it's not that well known. You don't hear that much about it, but it's happened in 60 to 70% of the populated regions of the world along the coast that rely on groundwater. So the vast majority of populated regions along the coast have seawater intrusion. Mike's area has it, Hossein's area has it. I could go around the world. So it's the silent threat that we don't hear much about. We hear a lot about drought because you can see rivers and that sort of thing. So I wanted to make sure we understand it and get a little visual there. So here's a picture of Monterey Bay out there, and down to the south is the southern end, almost Monterey. Mike's area is there in yellow. You can see the yellow represents seawater intrusion in the aquifers beneath the ground, almost as the Salinas now. And that's about 8 or 10 miles inland. And then as you go up to the north, you can see it's in the Watsonville and the Pajaro area. Now, when you get to the red area, that's kind of the area we serve inland. So you can see the towns. You can see a couple yellow dots there. That's where we have seawater intrusion in monitoring wells. However, the big $1 million question, actually more than that, was where is it offshore out in the ocean? How close is it to being onshore and coming into our aquifers? The hydrologists estimated that if it was at the shore and we continued pumping the way we did, it would only be 2 years till it decimated our main well field. So as soon as we figured that out, we said, we don't know where it is, but we want to game on, protect it as much as we can. And then about 3 years ago, I got a call from the Danish ambassador. I hung up on him a few times because I thought it was a crank call. Turned out to be real. They said they got the technology to find the seawater intrusion offshore in the aquifers. Long story short, the Danish have their act together. We brought it over. We gambled on it. We worked with Stanford and the USGS. They flew the helicopter 30 minutes after it landed. They said the data worked. It's good. And that was the good story. The bad part was they said it's right at the shoreline. So we were pretty blown away by that. We knew we had to do something. So what's our solution? You don't need to focus too hard on this. I'm going to run you through it. And I'm really going to turn the conversation here in a minute after this, because what my colleagues have done before have really, we're the same process. We're doing things very similar. So what this shows on the left is about 7.5 million gallons a day from Santa Cruz County gets pumped to Santa Cruz, all the sewage, and then it gets pumped out to the ocean. It's about 800 million gallons a day. We've got a collaborated effort with the city of Santa Cruz to take that water, treat it at tertiary levels down there, send it over about 4.5 miles, purify it, and then out another 4.5 miles to wells to put it down the ground. And what that does is create a hydraulic barrier against the sea coming in, and produces water that we can pump from. And by doing that, the basin will become sustainable and no more seawater intrusion. So many partners. I saw Felicia Marcus is on here, and she's inspired us in many ways. First of all, she was helpful in us obtaining a $50 million grant from the state. We just got $88 million from EPA. And I say that because they're our partners and we're very appreciative, State Water Board and EPA and others. But this is where it takes a turn to do a project like this. And I know Mike and Hossein will just say, yeah, it is so, in any sustainable effort of what all of us are trying to do, there's just so much out there. It's a crazy world. It's what we call a VUCA world: volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous. So how do you deal with that? So I'm going to turn the conversation from how do you build a team, personnel, and organization for sustainability and resiliency. And I say resiliency, again, I'll reference Felicia Marcus because I heard her talk the other day, and she said it's more than about sustainability, it's about resiliency, because resiliency supports that sustainable effort, because it's not a one and done, become sustainable and then you're good. You got to continue to be resilient to continue it. So here's where I really want to, what I think we can offer up to share to all of y'all. This is not a concept that I came up with. A professor did, I don't know, I think in the 80s, Professor Karst, and Simon Sinek has played on it recently, so you may recognize his name. And it's the concept of the infinite game. And what this is, it's not about a finite game, just win and you're good to go. Because these projects aren't that way. Getting a project like this, or any sustainable project or big effort, just isn't going to be done. There are unknown players that are going to come at you, whether that's climate change or people or social, political, economical, technological. There's all these potential disruptive forces. The rules can change on you. You know, in our case, we're hoping, Hossein's hoping the rules will change to allow potable, direct potable. That'd be awesome. And you guys lead the way, and hopefully, you know, we're behind you. But the objective in sustainability is to keep playing the game, right? That's what sustainability is all about. And that's what the mindset that I believe, and my colleagues believe, that you have to develop in order to make these big sustainable efforts. And so you're going to run across, or we're all going to run across, a lot of failures, and we don't even call them failures, we call them gifts, you know, little stepping stones. So it's about building upon that and becoming better and better, right? So, and enjoying the process. You know, they say when you climb, people that climb Mount Everest spend years doing it, and the average time is 16 seconds on top of the mountain. Imagine if you didn't enjoy the process doing that. So an infinite game, what do you have to have? You have to have a just cause. What's more just than sustainability? Mike touched on it. Teams, trusting teams are the core of any big effort succeeding. That's the bottom line, and it's not easy to even get that. You have to have a worthy rival, in our case, seawater intrusion. Game on, we're all about that. Existential flexibility, that sounds crazy, but what it means is be ready to change because it's going to come at you. In our case, I always said, it's not about a project, it's about sustainability, because I've seen people get locked into one mode and then data changes and they don't change and they lose because they weren't willing to disrupt themselves. So I think that's another one. Encourage. I remember riding back from Silicon Valley with two colleagues, and we were coming up over the crest of the mountain, and they were going, hey, as soon as we get the EIR done, we'll be good. This will be smooth sailing. I said, you know, it's not like you crest a mountain. When you get to the top of the mountain, there's a lot of undulating mountains ahead of us, and you just don't see them yet. You're just looking at the first mountain. So again, enjoy the process. I think what I would like to depart is, it's about resiliency. Charles Darwin, at least it's attributed to him, said it's not about the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. I really like that part because I don't consider myself the most intelligent, but it's the one most adaptable to change. The one most adaptable to change. Angel Duckworth, a pioneering psychologist, said resiliency is the key to tackling big things like this. Resiliency, again, resiliency, sustainability. And she said the key to resiliency is persistence times passion. I see a lot of passion out there, but we got to build that persistence, because to do this, it's a long journey. Resiliency equals persistency times passion. Now I'm heartened to, this is my last slide coming up, to say, I think that this kind of growth mindset's being taught out there. Yesterday, my son, he did this little poster, if you will, and he was throwing it in the trash can. I said, what is that? Let me see. It was they asked me to summarize the main lesson from the class, and it's success from failure. And I said, oh man, can I have that? You know, and this is an 18-year-old just starting college. I wasn't sure he was going to get it to me or tear it up. He said, sure, you can have it. You can see it's on a piece of cardboard. It's torn up and everything. And I know this is the philosophy they adopt in Silicon Valley. You know, it's like fail fast, fail often, learn, and then recreate yourself. And I think while we don't need to fail, we don't even need to call it failure. We can look at it as gifts, little stepping stones. And if we can continue to take those lessons and learn from them and build in sustainable efforts, we will succeed. I truly believe we will. And I think that's the pathway. So with that, thank you.